The stars looked different from the viewing deck of the UEC exploratory vessel Horizon. Captain Ju Park stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the endless black of space. After 15 years of service to the United Earth Coalition, she had seen many strange things, but nothing like what waited for them today. "Captain, you should come see this," called Officer Minho from the command center. Ju took one last look at the stars and turned away. The command center buzzed with activity. The crew moved with purpose, their faces tense. On the main screen, a massive object appeared at the edge of their scanning range. "What am I looking at, officer?" asked Ju. Minho pointed to the readings. "It's big, Captain. Bigger than anything we've built. And it's not one of ours." Ju felt her heart beat faster. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had found what it was looking for. They were not alone. "Wake up, Taiho," she ordered. "We need our diplomat." Taiho Kim woke to the sound of his communication device beeping. He had been dreaming of home, of the small apartment in New Seoul where he grew up. Now he was billions of miles away, serving as the diplomatic specialist on humanity's most advanced ship. "Kim here," he answered, his voice still thick with sleep. "Report to the command center immediately," came the captain's voice. "We found something." 15 minutes later, Taiho stood next to Captain Ju, staring at the massive ship on the screen. It was unlike anything humans had designed. The alien vessel resembled a giant black insect with multiple segments and strange appendages extending from its body. "It's beautiful," Taiho whispered. "Beautiful or not, we need to know if it's friendly," said a deep voice behind them. Do-Hyun Lee, the ship's combat specialist, moved to stand on Juwoo's other side. His face was hard, eyes narrowed as he studied the alien ship. At 29, he was the youngest senior officer on the Horizon, but his skills were unmatched. The neural implants visible at his temples glinted under the command center lights. "Let's not jump to conclusions," Taiho said. "This is a historic moment for humanity." Captain Ju nodded. "Taiho is right. We follow protocol. Open a communication channel, standard greeting message." The crew worked quickly, sending the carefully crafted message that Earth's best minds had created for this exact moment. Minutes passed in tense silence. "Captain, we're receiving a response," called out the communications officer. "It's translating now." A strange, multi-toned sound filled the command center. It rose and fell like music, but had the rhythm of speech. The ship's AI worked to make sense of it. "We are the Voidborn Collective," came the translated voice, strangely flat through the computer. "We recognize your vessel as a primitive transport. Identify your species designation and purpose." Juwoo glanced at Taiho, who stepped forward. "This is diplomatic specialist Taiho Kim of the United Earth Coalition vessel Horizon. We are humans from the planet Earth, engaged in peaceful exploration. We welcome this historic first contact between our peoples." There was a pause before the response came. "Your biological signatures are interesting. We invite a small delegation to our vessel for preliminary exchange." Do-Hyun shook his head. "Captain, I strongly advise against boarding an unknown alien ship." "Your concern is noted," Ju said, "but this is why we're out here." She turned to Taiho. "Prepare for contact. You'll lead the delegation. Do-Hyun will accompany you for security." Do-Hyun's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Yes, Captain." The shuttle journey to the alien ship took 30 minutes. Taiho spent the time reviewing his training, while Do-Hyun checked his equipment for the third time. 2 other crew members, Science Officer Jun and Medical Officer Era, sat quietly in their seats. As they approached the massive vessel, its true size became clear. The Horizon was the pride of Earth's fleet, but next to the alien ship, it looked like a toy. "Look at the material," Jun said, pointing at the hull. "It's not metal. It almost looks organic." Their shuttle was guided into a large opening that appeared in the side of the ship. They landed in a vast chamber where the walls pulsed with soft blue light. Air readings are normal, Era said, checking her instruments. Temperature slightly warmer than Earth standard. No detectable toxins. Do-hyun stood. I go first. Stay behind me. The shuttle door opened with a hiss. Do-hyun stepped out, hand near his weapon, eyes scanning for threats. The chamber was empty except for a door at the far end. It seems we're expected to proceed, Taho said, moving to stand beside Do-hyun. As they approached the door, it opened silently. Beyond it stood three figures that made the humans stop in their tracks. The aliens were tall, at least 8 feet, with slender bodies covered in a shiny, dark exoskeleton. They had 4 arms and 2 legs, with heads that reminded Taho of praying mantises. Large, multifaceted eyes studied the humans with unreadable expressions. "We welcome you aboard," said the middle figure, the words coming from a small device on its chest. "I am designated Ambassador Nix of the Voidborn Collective. We have studied your transmission signals for some time. Your species is younger than most we encounter." Taho stepped forward, trying to hide his awe. "Thank you for your welcome, Ambassador Nix. We are honored to be the first humans to meet your people." The alien's head tilted slightly. "You are small creatures. We find your biological structure interesting. You lack natural defenses." Do-hyun tensed beside Taho. "We manage," he said flatly. The alien's attention shifted to Do-hyun, multifaceted eyes reflecting the human's image. "You have artificial enhancements. Primitive, but a wise adaptation for such vulnerable beings." Taho quickly spoke before Do-hyun could respond. "We have much to learn from each other. The United Earth Coalition seeks peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture with all sentient life." "Yes," Nix said. "Knowledge exchange will benefit both our peoples. Please, follow me to our central chamber. The collective wishes to scan your biological patterns more thoroughly." As they walked through the ship, Taho was amazed. The corridors seemed alive, with walls that pulsed and shifted. Other aliens moved about, some much larger than Nix, others small and quick. All stopped to stare at the humans. "Their technology is at least a century beyond ours," Jun whispered to Taho. "Maybe more." Do-hyun remained silent, but Taho could see his eyes constantly moving, noting exits, counting aliens, assessing threats. The combat specialist's hand never strayed far from his weapon. They entered a vast chamber where dozens of Voidborn gathered. In the center stood a large crystalline structure that hummed with energy. "This is our shared mind," Nix explained. "It connects all Voidborn across the stars. Today, many watch through my eyes. You are the first humans any Voidborn has seen. And you are the first aliens humanity has encountered," Taho replied. "This is a historic day for both our peoples." Nix made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, historic for you especially. Small species often benefit greatly from collective guidance." Taho caught the implication and felt a flicker of unease. The United Earth Coalition represents over 10 billion humans across our solar system. We seek partners, not guidance. "Of course," Nix replied smoothly. "We merely observe that species at your development stage often find value in alliance with more advanced civilizations." As they continued their tour, Taho noticed how the Voidborn studied them, not as equals, but as curiosities. When Era demonstrated human medical knowledge, the aliens exchanged looks that needed no translation. Primitive. When Jun asked about their faster-than-light technology, they provided answers that were deliberately simplified. Hours later, as they prepared to return to the Horizon Asterisk, Nix presented a formal request. "The collective wishes to establish cultural exchange program. We request permission to send delegation to your primary worlds." On the shuttle ride back, Do-hyun finally spoke what they were all thinking. "They see us as children, or pets." Taho sighed. "Yes, but we need this alliance. Their technology could advance humanity by centuries." "At what cost?" Do-hyun asked, his implants glowing softly in the dim light of the shuttle. They didn't even try to hide their contempt. Taho had no answer. As the shuttle docked with the Horizon asterisk, he wondered what humanity was getting itself into. The stars suddenly seemed colder, and the universe much more dangerous than they had imagined. Captain Ju was waiting when they returned. "Well?" she asked. Taho hesitated. "First contact was successful, Captain, but I believe we should proceed with caution. Very high caution." Behind him, Do-hyun's eyes narrowed as he watched the massive alien ship through the viewing port. "They have no idea what humans are capable of," he said quietly. "And maybe that's for the best." 3 months had passed since first contact. The sky above New Seoul now held 5 void-borne ships, their dark shapes blocking the stars like giant insects. Similar ships hovered near every major human city on Earth, Mars, and the Europa colony. Taho Kim stood at the window of the UEC headquarters, watching one of the alien vessels move slowly across the night sky. "They're always watching," said a voice behind him. Taho turned to see Min Ji-yoon, a UEC intelligence officer with sharp eyes and a serious face. At 34, she had already earned a reputation for seeing things others missed. "That's what guests do," Taho replied carefully. "They observe." Minji moved to stand beside him. "Guests don't access restricted files. Guests don't scan our defense systems. Guests don't take DNA samples from our people without permission." Taho sighed. The cultural exchange with the Voidborn had brought amazing new knowledge to humanity. Their medical technology alone had saved thousands of lives. But each gift came with a price: more access, more information about humans. "Captain Ju wants to see us," Minji said. She said it's urgent. In the secure meeting room, Captain Ju Park stood with Do-hyun Lee and a thin man Taho recognized as Administrator Hyuk Kang from Europa Station. "Close the door," Ju ordered when Taho and Minji entered. "This conversation is top secret." Hyuk looked tired, his face pale. 3 days ago, the Voidborn delegation on Europa asked for a tour of our defense systems. I refused. The next day, they accessed them anyway. "How?" Do-hyun asked, his voice hard. "We don't know," Hyuk admitted. "Our security measures were bypassed without a trace. When I confronted Ambassador Nix, he said it was a misunderstanding and offered us new water recycling technology as a gift." Minji pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. "I've been monitoring Voidborn communications. Their language is complex, but I've managed to decode parts of it. Listen to this." A series of clicking sounds filled the room, followed by the flat computer translation. "Human physiology ideal for subordinate species classification. Strength to size ratio promising. Emotional responses make control straightforward." The room fell silent. Taho felt cold despite the warm air. "There's more," Minji continued. "They've been gathering data on our military capabilities, population centers, and resource distribution. This isn't a cultural exchange, it's reconnaissance." Do-hyun's implants glowed faintly as his anger rose. "I told you from the beginning. They see us as useful animals, not partners." Captain Ju raised her hand. "We need proof before we can take action. The Coalition Council won't risk our relationship with the Voidborn without solid evidence." "I have something," Hyuk said quietly. He showed them images from Europa Station's security system. "The Voidborn brought this device into our medical facility. They claimed it was a gift, an advanced healing unit. But look here." He pointed to readings from the station's sensors. "It's scanning and storing DNA patterns of everyone who comes near it." Taho leaned forward. "Why would they need our genetic information?" "To understand what we're capable of," Do-hyun answered, "or to find our weaknesses." The next day, Taho stood in the grand meeting hall of the UEC headquarters. Ambassador Nix towered over the human delegation, his 4 arms moving in graceful patterns as he spoke. "We are pleased with the progress of our exchange," Nix said. The collective now wishes to deepen our relationship. We request permission to establish permanent void-born settlements on your worlds. The human representatives looked at each other in surprise. This request was unexpected. Ambassador, Tahoe spoke carefully. Such an arrangement would need significant discussion. There are concerns about the recent incidents. Nex's head tilted. Incidents. Unauthorized access to restricted systems. DNA collection without consent. Scanning of military installations. The room grew tense as Nex's large eyes fixed on Tahoe. We regret any misunderstandings. Our methods are different from yours. The collective seeks only to help your species reach its potential. We appreciate that, Tahoe said, but we must insist on clear boundaries. Of course, Nix replied smoothly. The collective respects boundaries, but we must express concern about human defensive capabilities. Your weapon systems are concerning. A tall, heavily armored Voidborn stepped forward. Unlike Nix, this one's exoskeleton was marked with red patterns. His translator device spoke in a deeper tone. I am Warden Vex of the Collective Security Division. We have observed human military exercises that suggest aggressive tendencies. For mutual safety, we request oversight of your weapons development. Do-Yun, standing at the back of the room, stepped forward. That would compromise Earth's sovereignty and security. The request is denied. Warden Vex turned his large eyes to Do-Yun. Your neural enhancements are primitive but interesting. Your species relies on technology to compensate for natural weaknesses. This is why guidance from the collective is necessary. Tahoe could see Do-Yun's jaw tighten. We've managed just fine for thousands of years without your guidance. Yet you remain confined to a single solar system, Vex responded. The collective spans galaxies. We offer this guidance from experience. After the meeting, Captain Juwu gathered her team. They're pushing harder now. We need to know what they're really planning. I'll keep working on their communications, Minji said, but they're being more careful since I decoded the first messages. Tahoe's communication device beeped with an urgent message. His face paled as he read it. There's been an accident on Europa Station. Life support failed in Section 12. 12 people are dead. Sunwoo Choi had been working late in his research lab when the alarms went off. At 26, he was the youngest researcher on Europa Station, studying the moon's subsurface ocean. Now he stood in the emergency shelter, watching as medical teams treated survivors from Section 12. Administrator Hayok approached him, his face grim. Sunwoo, I need your help. You have access to the environmental monitoring systems. Yes, sir, Sunwoo replied. Check the air composition readings for Section 12 before the failure. Don't use the main computer, use your personal device. Confused but obedient, Sunwoo pulled out his tablet and accessed the data. What he found made his blood run cold. Sir, there was an unknown compound in the air. It wasn't there. And then suddenly it was, just before the life support failed. Hayuk nodded as if confirming a suspicion. The Voidborn delegation visited that section 2 hours before the failure. They'd brought a new air purification device as a gift. Sunwoo looked up in horror. Are you saying they? Say nothing, Hayuk whispered. Keep working. Record everything. I sent a message to Earth. On Earth, Tahoe presented the evidence to Captain Juwu and the Emergency Council. The compound found in Europa's air is a neurotoxin. It's not from any Earth species, and it was introduced through a Voidborn device. This is an act of war, one council member said. Juwu shook her head. Not necessarily. We need to understand why. I think I know, Minji said, entering the room. I've decoded more communications. The Voidborn aren't here for cultural exchange. They're here for annexation. They consider humans an ideal subordinate species. The incident on Europa was a test of their bioweapons. The room erupted in angry voices. Do-Hyun stood silently, his implants glowing brighter than usual. We demand the Voidborn withdraw from human space immediately, Ju said when they contacted Ambassador Nix. The alien's response was cold. That will not be possible. The collective has invested significant resources in human development. Your species requires our guidance to avoid self-destruction. This isn't a request, Ju replied. Remove your ships from our worlds within 24 hours. Nix's large eyes stared through the screen. You misunderstand your position, Captain. The collective does not seek conflict, but we will not abandon our investment. Humans will serve a valuable role under Voidborn protection. The screen went dark as the transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Taiho looked at his teammates. The truth was now clear. The Voidborn had never seen humans as equals. They had come not as friends, but as conquerors. Send word to all UEC forces, Ju ordered. We're at war. On Europa Station, Administrator Hayek watched as Voidborn troops entered the command center. He thought of the message he had sent to Earth, hoping it had reached them. As Warden Vex approached, Hayek knew his time was short. Your species has much potential, Vex said, but you need proper direction. Those who resist will be removed. Those who comply will thrive under collective rule. Hayek stood straight, facing the alien towering over him. Humans don't surrender easily. You'll learn that soon enough. Vex made a sound like laughter. Your confidence is misplaced. Your species is physically inferior, technologically primitive, and numerically insignificant. Resistance is inconsequential. Behind a nearby door, Sunwoo watched in horror as Warden Vex raised one of his 4 arms and, without warning, struck Hayek down. The administrator fell without a sound. Let this one serve as an example, Vex announced to the terrified humans. The collective's rule has begun. Europa Station had fallen. 3 days after Warden Vex killed Administrator Hayek, the Voidborn controlled every level of the moonbase. Human personnel were confined to their quarters or work areas, monitored by tall, armored Voidborn guards. Sunwoo Choi moved carefully through the research section, his head down. He had managed to avoid capture during the initial takeover by hiding in the ventilation system. Now he wore a maintenance worker's uniform, trying to blend in with the other humans who had been allowed to continue essential work. In his pocket, Sunwoo carried a small data device. On it was the recording of Hayek's murder and evidence of the Voidborn's bioweapon test. If he could reach the communication center, he might be able to send it to Earth. As he turned a corner, he saw 2 Voidborn guards dragging the human between them. Sunwoo ducked behind a storage container and watched. The human was Do-Hyun Lee, the combat specialist from Earth. His face was bruised, but his eyes were alert, scanning his surroundings. The neural implants at his temples were dark. Proceed to compliance chamber, one guard clicked to the other. This one has useful neural technology. The collective wants it studied. Sunwoo waited until they passed, then followed at a safe distance. Perhaps in the confusion of a prisoner transfer, he could slip into the communication center nearby. On Earth, Captain Ju stood in the UEC Emergency Command Center. Reports from across the solar system showed the same pattern. Voidborn ships had seized key locations on Mars and the Moon. Only Earth remained partially free, though Voidborn vessels controlled the skies. We've lost contact with 70% of our off-world forces, reported a young officer. The Voidborn have disabled most of our communication systems. Tahoe entered the room, his face grim. Captain, we've decoded more of their communications. The Voidborn are planning to introduce a chemical agent into Earth's atmosphere, similar to what they tested on Europa, but designed to make humans more compliant. How much time do we have? Chu asked. 3 days, maybe less, Tahoe replied. Minji, who had been working at a computer station, suddenly called out, Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Europa Station. It's on an emergency channel. The main screen flickered to life, showing a young man's face. He looked terrified, speaking in a hurried whisper. This is researcher Sunwoo Choi from Europa Station. I don't have much time. The Voidborn have taken control. Administrator Hayek is dead. He transmitted a video file. They're testing weapons on us, and they've captured some of your people. They're taking a man named Do-hyun to something called a compliance chamber. The transmission cut off suddenly. Ju turned to Taho and Minji. We need to strike now, before we lose Do-hyun and the others. If they get his neural implant technology. Most of our military forces are pinned down, Minji said, and we don't have ships that can reach Europa quickly enough. Taho's eyes widened. Yes, we do. The prototype. Ju nodded slowly. The Thunderbolt *. It's untested for that distance, but it might be our only chance. In the cold white room, the Voidborn called the compliance chamber, Do-hyun sat strapped to a metal chair. His captors had disabled his neural implants using some kind of electromagnetic pulse. Now they seemed eager to see how the technology worked. Warden Vex entered, his red-marked exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. Your neural enhancements interest us, he said through his translator. They are primitive, but the integration with your biological system is unexpected. Do-hyun said nothing, keeping his breathing steady. He had been trained for situations like this. Stay calm. Wait for an opportunity. Your species relies on artificial enhancements because you are naturally weak, Vex continued. This confirms our assessment. Humans require Voidborn direction to reach their potential. We were doing fine before you arrived. Do-hyun finally spoke. Vex made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Your species has spent most of its existence fighting itself. You lack the unity of the collective. A smaller Voidborn approached with a device that looked like a metal spider. This will interface with your neural implants, Vex explained. It may cause pain, but that is necessary for proper data collection. As they placed the device against his temples, Do-hyun felt sharp needles pierce his skin, seeking connection with his implants. Pain shot through his head like lightning. He clenched his teeth, refusing to scream. Your resistance is pointless, Vex said. All humans will serve the collective. Those with useful traits will be preserved. Others will be repurposed. The pain increased as the device dug deeper. Do-hyun's vision blurred. In his mind, warning signals flashed. The Voidborn device was attempting to access his implant's core functions. What they didn't know was that his implants weren't standard UEC technology. They were prototype military systems with built-in safeguards. And they had just triggered the last one. Sunwoo had made it to the communication center, sent his message to Earth, and was now hiding in an air duct near the compliance chamber. He watched through a small vent as they tortured Do-hyun. What happened next would stay with him forever. As the Voidborn device connected with Do-hyun's implants, the human's body suddenly went rigid. The implants, which had been dark, began to glow with increasing brightness. First blue, then purple, then a deep, angry red. Warden Vex stepped back. Something is happening. The implants are activating. Do-hyun's eyes snapped open. They were glowing the same red as his implants. His muscles bulged, veins standing out on his arms and neck. With a roar that sounded hardly human, he flexed against his restraints. The metal straps, designed to hold a normal human, snapped like paper. Restrain him, Vex ordered, but he sounded uncertain for the first time. Do-hyun moved with impossible speed. His hand shot out, grabbing the nearest Voidborn by its neck. There was a crack, and the alien dropped to the floor. Two more guards rushed forward. Do-hyun met them with savage efficiency, his enhanced strength tearing through their armored exoskeletons. Sunwoo watched in awe and terror. The human moved like an animal, all controlled fury and raw power. The neural implants were now pulsing, sending waves of red light across Do-hyun's skin. Whatever they had been designed to do in emergency situations, it had turned Do-hyun into something else, something primal and unstoppable. Warden Vex backed away, all four arms raised defensively. How is this possible? Your biology cannot support this level of exertion. Do-hyun didn't answer. He advanced on Vex, his movements predatory. When he finally spoke, his voice was deeper, distorted by whatever was happening to his body. You wanted to see what humans are capable of. Let me show you. What followed was violence unlike anything Sunwoo had ever seen. Do-hyun tore through the remaining guards, his enhanced strength matching and exceeding the naturally powerful Voidborn. Where the aliens had the advantage of size and armor, Do-hyun countered with speed and a terrifying battle instinct. Vex fought back, his specialized combat limbs striking with precision. But Do-hyun seemed beyond pain, beyond normal human limitations. Each blow he took only fueled his rage. His implants pulsed faster, pushing his body to extremes no Voidborn had thought possible for such a weak species. Sunwoo realized he was witnessing something important, something that needed to be shared. He activated his data device, recording the battle through the vent. Do-hyun cornered Vex, who now showed clear signs of fear. Your species is primitive, the warden hissed, trying to maintain his superiority even now. This anomaly changes nothing. We're not primitive, Do-hyun growled, advancing on the alien. We're survivors. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We fought predators, disease, each other, and we're still here. Your mistake was thinking that because we're peaceful most of the time, we're weak all of the time. With a final surge of strength, Do-hyun launched himself at Vex. The warden fought desperately, but Do-hyun's fury was beyond anything the alien had calculated for. In a brutal sequence of strikes, he broke through Vex's armor and threw the warden across the room. Vex lay broken against the wall, green fluid leaking from his exoskeleton. The collective will not allow this resistance. Do-hyun stood over him, his body shaking with the strain of his enhanced state. Tell your collective they made a mistake. Humans aren't easy prey. Sunwoo knew what he had to do, while Do-hyun continued his rampage through the station, fighting his way toward the control center. Sunwoo slipped into the station's broadcast room. Using his knowledge of the systems, he connected his data device to the main transmitter. Within minutes, the footage of Do-hyun's berserker fury was broadcasting to every human settlement in the solar system. On Earth, Mars, and the remaining free stations, humans watched as one of their own demonstrated what happened when humanity was pushed too far. In the UEC command center, Captain Jiwoo watched the broadcast with Taho and Minji. The Berserker Protocol, Minji whispered. I thought it was just a theory. Taho looked confused. What are you talking about? It's a classified military program, Jiwoo explained. Neural implants designed to unlock human emergency capabilities in extreme situations. They bypass normal limits, allowing strength and speed far beyond standard human capacity. But the cost. On the screen, they could see Do-hyun fighting through the station, freeing human prisoners as he went. His movements were becoming less coordinated. The implant's glow was starting to flicker. The human body isn't meant to sustain that level of output, Minji said quietly. The protocol burns through the user's resources, if he doesn't shut it down soon. Jiwoo straightened her uniform. Prepare the Thunderbolt *. We're going to Europa Station, and send this broadcast to every ship and settlement we can reach. The Voidborn need to see what happens when they push humans too far. Across the solar system, the image of Do-hyun tearing through supposedly superior alien forces became a symbol of human resistance. On ships, stations, and colonies, people who had begun to lose hope found new determination. The Voidborn had made a critical error. They had studied human biology, technology, and history, but they had failed to understand one essential truth. The most dangerous human wasn't the strongest or the smartest. It was the one with nothing left to lose. The Thunderbolt * cut through space faster than any human ship before it. Captain Jiwoo stood on the bridge, watching as Europa grew larger on the main screen. Behind her, Taho and Minji prepared for what would likely be a difficult landing. Any word from the station? Jiwoo asked. Minji shook her head. Nothing since Sunwoo's broadcast. The Voidborn have locked down all communications. And Do-hyun? Taho asked quietly. Minji's face was grim. If he's still in berserker mode, he won't last much longer. The human body can't sustain that level of output. As the Thunderbolt approached Europa, they could see void-born ships surrounding the station. But something was wrong. The alien vessels were no longer in attack formation. Several were pulling away. "They're retreating," Tahoe said in disbelief. Juwu leaned forward. "Can we contact any human forces on the station?" After several tense minutes, the communications officer called out, "Captain, I'm getting a signal." Sunwoo's face appeared on screen. He looked exhausted but alive. "Captain Park, is that really you?" "We're here, Sunwoo. What's the situation?" The young researcher's eyes were wide with excitement. You have to see it to believe it. Do-hyun freed most of the human prisoners. The Voidborn are in chaos. They've never seen anything like him. "We're coming in," Juwu said. "Can you secure a landing bay?" Sunwoo nodded. "Bay 3 is clear. I'll meet you there." As the Thunderbolt docked at Europa Station, Juwu led a team of UEC soldiers out of the ship. Sunwoo was waiting, along with a group of freed station personnel. "This way," he said, leading them deeper into the station. Do-hyun was heading for the main control center. That's where the Voidborn leadership is barricaded. The signs of battle were everywhere. Broken Voidborn bodies lay in the corridors. Walls were dented and torn. Green alien blood mixed with red human blood on the floors. "How many humans did we lose?" Juwu asked quietly. "Too many," Sunwoo replied. But after Do-hyun broke free, everything changed. The Voidborn didn't expect resistance. They thought we were weak. They reached a viewing area overlooking the main control center. Through the reinforced glass, they could see Do-hyun. He stood in the center of the room, surrounded by the bodies of Voidborn guards. His skin was pale, veins standing out dark against it. The neural implants at his temples still glowed red, but the light was flickering. "He's reaching his limit," Minji whispered. At the far end of the control center, a massive Voidborn stood behind a barricade, larger than Warden Vex, with a black exoskeleton marked with gold patterns. This had to be the Voidborn commander. "You fight well for a primitive species," the commander's translator voice echoed through the room. "But your biological limitations make your defeat inevitable." The collective's reach spans galaxies. This display changes nothing. Do-hyun stood breathing heavily, his enhanced body beginning to fail. But his eyes, still glowing red, remained fixed on his enemy. "You still don't understand," he said, his voice rough. "Humans aren't defined by our limitations. We're defined by how we overcome them." With those words, Do-hyun launched into a final attack. Despite his failing strength, he moved with the desperate fury of a species fighting for survival. The Voidborn commander was stronger, with natural armor and 4 powerful arms. But Do-hyun fought with something the alien couldn't comprehend, the absolute refusal to surrender. Juwu turned to her team. "We need to help him. He won't survive much longer in that state." As they prepared to enter the control center, Tahoe held up his hand. "Wait. Look." On screens around the room, they could see the broadcast from Sunwoo was still playing. But now it wasn't just showing Europa Station. It was showing scenes from across the solar system. On Mars, on the Moon, on Earth itself, humans were fighting back. The sight of Do-hyun's berserker fury had inspired a full-scale rebellion. "The tide is turning," Tahoe said in wonder. In the control center below, Do-hyun had reached the Voidborn commander. Their battle was brutal, a clash between alien strength and human desperation. The commander struck Do-hyun with enough force to shatter concrete, sending him crashing into a wall. But the human rose again, his implants sputtering as they pushed his body beyond all normal limits. "Why do you continue?" the commander demanded. "Your vital signs indicate imminent system failure. You cannot win." Do-hyun smiled through bloodied lips. Winning isn't always about surviving. He charged again, and this time he broke through the commander's guard. With a move that seemed impossible for his failing body, Do-hyun grappled the massive alien and drove both of them into the station's main control panel. Sparks flew as systems overloaded. Ju-woo watched in horror. He's going to blow the controls. No, Min-ji realized suddenly. He's accessing the station's broadcast system. He's making sure the whole collective sees this. In a final surge of strength, Do-hyun pinned the commander against the panel. "Tell your collective," he growled, "humans aren't prey. We're predators they never saw coming." With that, Do-hyun activated his implant's final protocol. They flared with blinding red light, discharging all their remaining energy in one massive burst. The commander's exoskeleton cracked under the force, green fluid leaking from multiple breaks. As the alien collapsed, Do-hyun fell to his knees. The glow of his implants faded to nothing. His body, pushed beyond human limits, finally gave out. He collapsed on the control room floor. "Move," Ju-woo ordered, and her team rushed into the control center. 3 days later, Taeho stood at the window of the UEC headquarters, watching as the last Voidborn ship lifted away from Earth's atmosphere. Reports from across the solar system confirmed the same pattern. The aliens were retreating. "I still can't believe it," Min-ji said, joining him at the window. "They were so much more advanced than us." "Technology isn't everything," Taeho replied. "They understood our biology, but not our spirit." The door opened and Captain Ju-woo entered with Sunwoo. "The council meeting is about to start," she said. "They want full reports on what happened at Europa Station." "How does Do-hyun?" Taeho asked. Ju-woo's face softened. "Stable. The medical team says he'll recover, but it will take time. His body went through something no human was designed to endure." As they walked to the council chamber, screens throughout the building showed scenes from the battle for Europa Station. Do-hyun's berserker fury had become a symbol for humanity, a reminder of what they were capable of when pushed to the edge. In the council chamber, they found representatives from every human settlement in the solar system. The mood was victorious but somber. Millions had died in the brief but brutal war with the Voidborn. "Before we begin," said the council leader, "we have received a transmission from the Voidborn Collective. It came in an hour ago." The main screen activated, showing Ambassador Nix. The alien looked different somehow, less confident, more cautious. "The collective has reassessed humanity's classification," Nix stated. "Previous assumptions about your species were incorrect. The observed capacity for biological enhancement and extreme adaptive response classifies humans as a sovereign predator species." The room remained silent as Nix continued. "The collective withdraws from your solar system and recognizes human territorial sovereignty. No further contact will be initiated without formal request from your leadership." After the transmission ended, the council leader turned to Ju-woo and her team. "It seems we made quite an impression." Sunwoo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "It wasn't just Do-hyun. It was all of us. When humans across the system saw what one of us could do, it gave everyone the courage to fight back." "The Voidborn made a fundamental mistake," Taeho added. "They studied us in normal conditions and thought they understood our limits. They never considered what happens when humans have nothing left to lose." 6 months later, Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of the newly rebuilt Europa Station. His body had healed, though scars remained. The neural implants were gone, burned out during his berserker rage. But new ones had been developed, safer versions based on what was learned from his experience. Captain Ju-woo joined him, looking out at the stars. The long-range sensors detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system. She said, "Not Voidborn. Something else." "Another alien species?" Do-hyun asked. "Possibly. But this time, we'll be ready." Do-hyun nodded, his eyes on the distant stars. "They called us weak because we weren't as strong as them. But strength isn't just about muscle or armor. It's about what you do when everything is against you." Ju-woo finished. On a screen behind them, news played from across the solar system. Humanity was rebuilding, stronger than before. And somewhere out there, among the stars, the Voidborn Collective was spreading the word about the unexpected predators they had found on a small blue planet. Humans might look harmless at first glance, but only a fool would mistake their civility for weakness. Because once you've seen a human go berserk, you never underestimate them again.